Cramorant. A Pokemon often dismissed for its comical appearance. With its large beak and constant blank stare, it's easy to see why people overlook its potential. But looks can be deceiving, for underneath that goofy exterior lies a fierce predator, ready to take on anything in its path. Today, we're putting this underdog to the ultimate test. Can I beat Pokemon Sword with just a Cramorant? Cramorant's stats are quite mediocre, and its move pool, well, it leaves a lot to be desired. There's barely any coverage, with most good moves being tied to the stupid Watt system. It also doesn't help that we don't get Dive until level 28, which means that we lack an ability until then. But why would you choose Cramorant? Why not use a cool Pokemon like Beware, or some absolutely atrocious one like Grubbin? Why would you shackle yourself to the pinnacle of mediocrity? I just really like him. Cramorant is such a goofy little guy. I mean, just look at him. As for the rules of this challenge, there's really only one. We're not allowed to use any items in battle, but held items are allowed. And with that singular rule out of the way, let's begin. Oh, and of course, something like comment, subscribe, ring the bell, join the Discord, etc. I've put a ton of time and effort into this video, so I hope you enjoy. You know, you can say anything you want about Sword and Shield as Pokemon games, but I absolutely love Galar's towns. Postwick feels incredibly cozy, and I love all the Pokemon in the background doing their thing, as it just makes the world feel more alive. Also, they've got a functional windmill, unlike a certain other region. You know, I'll just be honest with you. There's really not a lot worth mentioning pre-Cramorant acquisition. So, just know that I chose Sobble as my starter. Why? Well, it's cute. Leave me alone, okay? Once the game allows us to enter Wedgehurst, I'm able to send over a Cramorant from Pokemon Home. I'll be honest with you, her quiet nature scares me a little bit, as I imagine that we'll need to be faster in the late game. It also appears that we have no attacking moves, but luckily for us, we can just visit the move reminder. I definitely knew this from the start, and I definitely didn't waste 10 minutes of my life trying to beat this random kid with a Scovet. Nope, not at all. Don't worry about it. I also nicknamed her Deathwing, because that's extremely funny.
I am Deathwing, the Destroyer, the end of all things. Inevitable, indomitable, I am the Cataclysm!
With all of that over and done with, we have our first of many rival fights with Hop. There's admittedly not much to say about this battle, as Deathwing made short work of Hop's entire team. Things would have probably been more difficult if Hop had a Grookey instead of a Scorbunny, but oh well. We meet back up with Hop at Wedgehurst Station, take the train to the wild area, and make a beeline straight for Modestoke to attend the Gym Challenge's opening ceremony. These poor sods don't know what'll hit them. But before we even have a chance to make it out of Modestoke and start our gym challenge properly, we're challenged by Hop to yet another battle. This could have been a tough fight if Hop wasn't so keen on using status moves every other turn. With Hop's defeat, there's only one thing standing between us and the first gym: Bede, our other rival. Asking for an ass whooping aside, the fight itself was rather easy, with only Solos's Endeavor being a bit of a threat. His team is no match for Cramorant's insatiable hunger. And with Bede out of the way, we can finally challenge the first gym leader of the run, Milo. Milo specializes in grass-type Pokemon, so this really shouldn't be an issue. Milo starts the battle off with his Gossifleur, who Cramorant one-shots with a max airstream after Dynamaxing. He then sends out his Eldegoss, who he also Dynamaxes. After exchanging max airstreams and max overgrowths, Cramorant just barely comes out on top, finishing Milo's Eldegoss off of a peck, earning us our very first gym badge. I honestly feel a bit bad for the spectators. They pay full price to watch a Pokemon battle live and it's just over in 3 turns. After beating some Team Yellgrunts, obtaining a bicycle, and defeating Hop yet again, we arrive at Holbury, where we'll be facing off against Nessa, the Water-type gym leader. But first, I go out of my way to collect the Shell Bell, which heals the holder's HP based on damage done with any damaging move, so it's quite handy. Alright, I think we're ready to face Nessa. Both Nessa's Goldeen and Aerocuda go down fairly easily, but this is where we encounter a slight problem. Nessa's Dreadnought. In any other playthrough, Dreadnought isn't that difficult to deal with, since you'll have had plenty of access to grass types, but in a solo run, yeah. Deathwing does plenty of damage to it with Max Geyser, but Dreadnought simply does more with Max Strike, which also lowers our speed, meaning that we'll always go second. Unsurprisingly, Dreadnought takes us out in the very next turn. I clearly need a new strategy, so while looking through Cramorant's limited move pool, I came across the perfect move: Attract. It's simple. Dreadnought can't kill Cramorant if he can't hit her. It's a flawless strategy, really, if you ignore the fact I'm literally just rolling a dice. Anyway, let's give Nessa another go. On our next attempt, both Nessa's Goldeen and Aracuda are still complete pushovers. Once Dreadnought comes out, I immediately use Attract, but Love sadly isn't enough to prevent a Max Darkness from hitting Deathwing. I use Roost on the following turn, hoping to stall out Dreadnought's Dynamax a bit. And fortunately, Dreadnought is immobilized by Love. I use Roost again, anticipating a Max Rockfall. Though in hindsight, Nessa's Dreadnought doesn't even have a Rock-type move. Once Dreadnought's Dynamax ends, 2 Max Geysers are enough to take out the oversized turtle, earning us our second gym badge. I guess Deathwing's a Widow now? That's a bit awkward. Another Galar Mine means another Beat fight, which goes the exact same way as the first battle. Beat's team of first stage Psychic-type Pokemon just isn't that strong nor threatening. While battling trainers in the mine, Deathwing hits level 28 and learns Dive. Do you know what that means? We finally have an ability. Sure, Dive isn't optimal, but it's better than nothing. Back in Motostoke, we meet and battle our third and final rival, Marnie. She focuses on Dark-type Pokemon, while also having a Krogunk. I guess that's kinda neat. Regardless, both her Krogunk and Scraggy go down with ease due to their Flying-type weakness. There's just one small issue. Marnie's Ace Morpeko poses a bit of a bigger threat. It does half of Deathwing's health with a Thunder Shock, while also outspeeding us. But luckily, Deathwing's Dive crits, so we don't have to worry about this little rodent ruining our day. Next up is Kabu, the Fire-type gym leader. And oh boy, what a rough start. He starts the battle off with his Ninetales, which doesn't seem too bad until it hits you with a turn 1 Will-O-Wisp. Yay! But at least we take it down with a couple of dives. Arcanine comes out next, and it immediately drops our attack even further with its Intimidate ability. We take it down soon after with the famous Fish Dive Fish combo. Kabu's final Pokemon is Centiskorch, who he immediately Gigantamaxes. I use Attract to hopefully stall out the 3 turns, and luckily for me, it's immobilized for 2 of them. We hit it with a rather pitiful dive, while it hits Deathwing with a Max Flutterby, doing quite a bit of damage to the bird. Deathwing spits an Aracuda at it in retaliation, doing some damage while also lowering the Centipede's defense. On the very next turn, our Dynamaxed bird takes the Centipede down with a single Max Geyser, earning us our 3rd gym badge. That was honestly a lot harder than I thought it would be. With Kabu's defeat, we're finally allowed to enter Hammerlock, where we spend our hard-earned Pokédollars on some new drip, including this neat little Cramorant shirt. Just look at it! All dripped out, I make my way over to Stoneside, the desert town of this region. I quite like this town. I especially love all the Maractai operating the different market stalls. The music's also amazing. Here, just listen to it. I also picked up the TM for Steel Wing on my way here, as it'll be necessary very soon. Just thought I'd mention it. As we approach Stoneside's gym, we're challenged by Hop to yet another battle. Woohoo. He starts the battle off with a Cramorant? You copycat! Anyway, nothing really happens outside of Deathwing being paralyzed for 5 turns in a row. Like, what cheats are you using, Hop? Like, this is not fair. Oh, I also got my first ever Pikachu from Gold Missile, so that's kinda cool. Anyway, let's go get our 4th gym badge. B starts the battle off with Dr. Bustdown, who goes down after a single Drill Peck. Next up is Pangoro, who puts up more of a fight. Drill Peck does good damage, but Pangoro hits back hard. Eventually, it goes down to a dive. Surfetched is next, who falls to a Fish Drill Peck combo. God, I love this stupid ability. B's final Pokemon is Machamp, who she immediately Gigantamaxes. I tried to hold on with a combination of Roost and Dive, but Machamp just takes Deathwing out. At least it was funny seeing Deathwing spit a Pikachu at a gigantic Machamp's chest, I guess. My second attempt goes much the same way, with Machamp annihilating Deathwing. This fight is clearly possible, but we're just missing something. I decided to give it one more shot, and I somehow managed to do it. The fight started the same, with Hitmontop being completely useless. But things got interesting when Deathwing hit level 40, allowing her to one-shot Pangoro. This is huge, as Pangoro is our 2nd biggest hurdle. Surfetch still wasn't a threat, and Machamp went down after 2 max airstreams, earning us our 4th gym badge. I guess the 3rd time really is the charm, eh? You know, I have to admit, it's kinda cool facing B for once, as I've only ever fought Alistair.
You can't milk those!
4th badge in hand, and B challenges us to yet another battle after he's done destroying some historical monument. Kids, don't do this. This is not cool. Please don't destroy historical monuments. Safe to say, we absolutely obliterated both him and his team. We then get to traverse the Glimwood Tangle, one of my favorite places in the entire series. I genuinely love the fairy tale aesthetic, and the lighting is absolutely fantastic. Bolonlia looks great too. I especially love all of the random Pokemon just hanging about. But enough sightseeing, we've got a gym leader to beat. Opal starts about love with this distinguished gentleman, who goes down after 2 Steel Wings. Her Togekiss follows suit. Opal brings out her Mawile next, who lowers Deathwing's attack with Intimidate, which is quite bad. I also managed to give the wrong answer to one of Opal's questions, which means that Deathwing's stats are lowered even further. Yeah, we lose the battle soon after. My second attempt goes much better, as I actually answered the question correctly for once. Opal's final Pokemon Alchemy is no match for Cramorant, as it goes down after 2 Max Steel Spikes, earning us our 5th gym badge. I guess a cake is no match for a Cramorant, huh? 5th gym badge in hand, Hop challenges us to yet another battle. It starts off easy enough, with Deathwing easily one-shotting his Trevenant, but this is where things get a bit rough. Hop's second Pokemon is Boltund, which easily one-shots Deathwing with a Spark of all things. Several attempts later, I managed to beat Boltund with the help of a Wakon Berry. Sure, Boltund still did a boatload of damage with Spark, but the Wakon Berry bought us just enough time to defeat this stupid dog. Yeah, the rest of Hop's team is just a complete pushover, don't worry about them. This also isn't relevant to anything whatsoever, but I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the Phalings walking by. Like, just look at them, it's so serene and peaceful. Although, it is a bit weird how the last one just kind of blips out of existence. Do you reckon they're alright? Anyway, we eventually make it to Sirchester, where we'll be facing off against our Rock-type gym leader, Gordy. You know, Melanie fits this town a whole lot more. Gordy starts the battle off with his Barbaracle, who one-shots Cramorant with a Shell Smash boosted Rock Tomb. Yeah, this is not looking too good, eh? My second attempt went much the same way, and it became quite clear that this fight just isn't feasible at our current level. So I guess it's time for everyone's favorite activity, grinding! Yay!
3, 2, 1, go!
Nice.
Triple kill.
One eternity later.
Several levels later, I easily defeat Gordy at level 53, which earns me my 6th gym badge. I honestly wish I could tell you more about this fight, but there's like nothing to say. I guess when you have a powerhouse like Deathwing, there's just not too much to comment on, huh? Anyway, you know the drill by now. We obtain a gym badge, so Hop challenges us to a battle. These battles are normally not too difficult, but Hop now owns a Pincurchin, which wouldn't be too bad normally, as Pincurchin is a very weak Pokemon, but yeah, it still one-shots Deathwing with a Spark. I gave it a couple more tries, but there's just nothing we can do against it, so it's back to the grindstone, eh? While grinding, I also managed to pick up the leftovers item. It may not heal me as much as the Shell Bell would, but it works great with Dive, so that's good. Several levels later, we managed to one-shot Pincurchin with Dive, with the rest of Hop's team following suit. You know what the worst part about this is? Hop will keep using Pincurchin throughout the rest of the game. Yeah. I mean, I would too, it's a cute little sea urchin, but it's a bit bad for us. Approaching Spikemuth, we find the city all closed up. Marnie swings by and shows us another way in, but of course, we have to battle her first. Her entire team goes down to dive spam, and soon enough, we're free to head into the town. This is also where we encounter a slight problem. As it turns out, you can't actually challenge Spikemuth's gym without having at least 2 Pokemon in your party, as there's several mandatory double battles waiting for us. This will also be the case in the next gym, as it is entirely composed of double battles, so really the only thing I can do is having Sobble rejoin us for the next WoW. Woohoo! Anyway, I wonder what Pierce is up to.
Goodbye, every memory of walking out the front door. I'm about to follow the friend that
After witnessing the worst performance of my life, it's time for our battle against Pierce, the Dark-type gym leader. I can already tell you that this fight is going to be a bit of a mess, since we can't rely on Dynamax to carry us. It also really doesn't help that Pierce starts the battle off with his Scrafty, who immediately lowers our attack with Intimidate. Sure, it goes down after a Drill Peck and a Dive, but not without doing quite a bit of damage with Payback first. Next up is Malamar, who's a lot harder to deal with than you would expect. Its contrary ability directly counters ours, with every Arrokuda spat at it becoming a defense boost instead. It eventually does go down, but it put up quite the fight. Obstagoon is next, and oh boy. Obstagoon is quite a bulky Pokemon that does tons of damage, while also knowing Obstruct, which is literally just a better Protect. We get great value out of the Leftovers and Dive combo, and slowly but surely whittle this behemoth down with some well-timed dives. Pierce's final Pokemon is Skuntank, which, sure exists, I guess. Yeah, it goes down after just 2 dives, which earns us our 7th gym badge. What a disappointing ending to a pretty difficult battle. Alright, it's time for what I would consider the hardest gym leader in the entire game. Raihan. Every single one of his Pokemon has something that completely screws us over. His Gigalith has Rock Blast, his Flygon has Thunder Punch, his Sandaconda has Glare, and his Duraludon has Stone Edge and Max Rockfall. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's a constant Sandstorm in the arena, which cancels out any Leftovers recovery. And to top it all off, this is a double battle, which means that Deathwing will be stuck fighting 2 Pokemon at once. To give Deathwing even a fighting chance, I spend a long, grueling time farming Watts for Ice Beam. I really hope it's worth it. My first attempt wasn't the greatest thing ever, with Flygon almost one-shotting Deathwing with a Thunder Punch. Deathwing gets her revenge with an Ice Beam, taking Flygon out in one fell swoop, but Gigalith meanwhile turns our little Sobble buddy into paste. Raihan sends out Sandaconda next, who immediately paralyzes Deathwing. Gigalith just barely survives a dive, and would have killed Cramorant if not for a well-timed Pikachu. Sadly, Duraludon kills us on the very next turn. A couple attempts later, we have this run where Flygon, for whatever reason, decides to go for Sobble instead of Deathwing, which spares her from a lot of damage. We take out Gigalith with a Dive Fish combo and once again get paralyzed by Sandaconda. Raihan sends out his Duraludon, and we both Dynamax our Pokemon. Duraludon goes for a Max Rockfall, doing about half our health, while I use a Max Hailstorm, doing a little over half the Duraludon. I should have honestly lost here, but Raihan threw the match by going for a G-Max depletion instead of another Max Rockfall, which dealt pitiful damage to the mighty Deathwing. The outcome of this match is now in the hands of Paralysis RNG, and RNGs has decided to spare us. Deathwing takes down Duraludon with another Max Hailstorm. The only thing left standing between me and my final gym badge is Sandaconda, who can only damage me with Fire Fang. But this is actually a lot harder than it sounds, as I managed to almost lose to Paralysis RNG. We barely scrape by and defeat Sandaconda, which earns us our 8th and final gym badge. Thank you for being great Cannon Fodder, Sobble. I highly appreciate it. 8th badge in hand, we take the train to Winden, where we'll be facing off against the best of the best in the Champion Cup. Our first opponent is Marnie, whose entire team goes down to dive spam. But hey, at least their theme is absolutely goated. Next up is Hop, and we easily wipe out his entire team, including this oh-so-difficult Pink Urchin. With day 1 of the tournament over and done with, the game suddenly remembers that we haven't had a proper bad guy plot yet, so we get to beat up some Macrocosmos goons and climb Rose Tower. This is where we find Oleana waiting for us, who of course challenges us to a Pokemon battle. She starts the battle off with her Frostlass, who immediately burns Deathwing with a Will-O-Wisp. She then starts spamming everyone's favorite move, Double Team. Yeah, it eventually goes down after many failed dive attempts. The rest of her team isn't too difficult to deal with, except for her Garbodor, who takes Deathwing out with, you guessed it, Max Rockfall. Yay. Granted, I didn't know it had weak armor. My second attempt goes much the same way, but I actually managed to beat Garbodor this time. Granted, I played around weak armor. And with that little detour out of the way, it's time for day 2 of the tournament, where we'll be facing off against some familiar faces. First up is Beat, who's now a Fairy-type trainer. I would honestly love to tell you about how epic this rematch was, but his entire team's a joke. Next up is Nessa, whose water types are unable to do any amount of significant damage to Deathwing, so we easily defeat her. B is our third opponent, whose fighting types drop faster than I dropped out of college. Raihan is our final opponent, and he would have been an issue if he didn't spend a turn to set up weather on every single one of his Pokemon. Raihan, please stick to VGC. You're not made for Smogon. And with that gauntlet of gym leaders out of the way, it is finally time for Deathwing's final opponent in this playthrough, Champion Leon. And Elon Musk is announcing the end of the world. You know, your typical Thursday afternoon. Yeah, I'm really not a fan of this plot point. Like, I genuinely really like Rose as a character, but this sudden twist of him being evil is just stupid and it feels really forced. Like, this whole thing reeks of cut content. But what do you think? Please do let me know. I am genuinely very curious. We find Chairman Rose in Galar's underground power plant, where he challenges us to a battle. Rose starts the battle off with his Escavalier, who does almost half of Deathwing's HP with a Mega Horn, but it goes down soon after. Rose then sends out his Klinklang, who takes out Cramorant immediately with a Wild Charge. Yay. I leveled up Cramorant a bit and gave it another go, and we still just died to Klinklang. On my third attempt, Klinklang still nearly one-shots Deathwing after she had used Roost. It's genuinely absurd to me that even while 2 times weak, Klinklang still nearly one-shots Deathwing. But hey, at least we take it out in the following turn. Ferrothorn is next, and it does absolutely nothing but spam Curse, so that's pretty good. Berserker is next, who does nothing but use Screech. Cool. Admittedly, it's a little concerning. Rose's ace is a Copperaja, who he immediately Gigantamaxes. I use Dive to avoid its attack, and proceed to paralyze it on the very next turn by tanking a Max Mindstorm, which, you know, almost one-shots Deathwing because this thing is really weak. I then proceed to Dynamax Deathwing, and I use Max Guard to avoid Copperaja's final max attack. And on the next turn, I one-shot it with a Max Geyser.
I shall tear this world apart!
Jeez, what a difficult fight. I never thought that I would get walled by a Klinklang of all things. Also, whoever composed Rose's theme did a fantastic job, as it is genuinely one of my favorite themes in the entire series. We then beat up the newly released Eternatus and save the world. You know, I caught this alien monstrosity in a love ball because it's a little cutie patootie. Alright, with the defeat of the main villain, it's finally time for the moment we've all been waiting for, the battle against Champion Leon. Leon leads with his Aegislash, which isn't too hard to deal with. It's just that King's Shield is kind of annoying. Dragapult is next, and almost one-shots Deathwing with a Thunderbolt. You know, electric-type moves really seem to be the bane of my existence. First Bolthound, then Pincurchin, then Klinklang, and now this. But hey, at least we take it out fairly easily, but it still outspeeds us, so this is going to be a bit of a problem. With Dragapult defeated, Leon sends out his Rhyperior, who does way too much damage to Deathwing, even after using Roost. I can't one-shot it with Dive either, so I just lose the battle on the spot. I give it another shot at level 79, and I manage to one-shot Rhyperior with a Dive. But then Haxorus makes short work of us the turn after. Who could have predicted that the minus speed nature was going to screw me over in the endgame, huh? It's quite clear that it's just impossible, so I started grinding some more Dynamax raids for XP candies. I also noticed that 4 out of 6 of Leon's Pokemon are male, so I guess it's time to use Attract again. I give it another go at level 82, and do I even need to mention how Aegislash goes? Dragapult still manages to almost one-shot Deathwing with a Thunderbolt, but a combination of Ice Beam and a Fish take it down. I use Roost to stall out Rhyperior's Stone Edge PP, and then use Attract as soon as it starts using Mega Horn, which buys me even more time to heal. Once we've dealt with Rhyperior, Haxorus comes out, who we one-shot with a Max Hailstorm after Dynamaxing. Rillaboom is next, who suffers the exact same fate as Haxorus. Leon's final Pokemon is Charizard, who he immediately Gigantamaxes into one of the strongest Pokemon ever made. It then proceeds to use Max Rockfall, doing surprisingly little damage. I guess it's because it's based off of Ancient Power. Regardless, Deathwing uses one final Max Geyser, one-shotting Charizard and winning us the run. Okay, I'll be honest with you for a second. This was actually such a fun run. Like, I didn't expect to have this much fun, but, like, I don't know. It's just weirdly enjoyable. Like, ignoring how stupidly difficult it got near the end, I had a ton of fun. And even, like, the Leon fights were really fun. I would actually recommend you try this for yourself, because Cramorant is just really fun to use. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I would highly appreciate if you left a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you hated this video, just go and do the opposite. Go and leave a dislike, unsubscribe, and go and take a comment, I guess. However that may work. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and if you have any Pokemon recommendations for future runs, please let me know down below. Regardless, I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever time it may be for you.